Commander Taejin stood at the viewing window of the research ship Harmony, watching the massive space station grow larger as they approached. Crossroads Station was unlike anything he had ever seen. It looked like a giant crystal flower floating in space with long arms reaching out in all directions. Each arm held docking bays for different types of alien ships. "First time seeing aliens up close for all of us," said Sora from behind him. She was the ship's navigator, a calm woman who never seemed worried about anything. Today, though, her voice had a slight shake to it. Wu Bin looked up from his engineering console. "The station's power systems are incredible. They're using energy sources I can't even identify." He was young for an engineer, but brilliant. His hands moved quickly over the controls as he prepared their ship for docking. Hud-Na, their xenobiologist, was studying data on her tablet. 12 different alien species will be there to meet us. Each one evolved on different worlds, with different atmospheres, different gravity. Some don't even have solid bodies like us. Taejin nodded. This was humanity's first official meeting with the Galactic Council. Earth had been sending radio signals into space for over a century, but only recently had the aliens decided humans were advanced enough for contact. The meeting would determine if humanity could join the galactic community, and if so, at what level. "Remember," Taejin said to his crew, "we represent all of humanity today. Let's make a good impression." The docking process was smooth. As soon as the Harmony connected to the station, the artificial gravity shifted to match the station's systems. The air that flowed in through the connecting tunnel smelled strange, like metal and ozone, with hints of things Taejin couldn't identify. A tall figure waited for them at the airlock. It looked like it was made of living crystal, constantly shifting colors from blue to green to purple. When it spoke, the words came from a device on its chest, translating its thoughts into human language. "I am Zephyros, representative of the Vectari and current speaker for the Galactic Council. Welcome to Crossroads Station, humans." Taejin stepped forward and extended his hand in greeting. Zephyros looked at the offered hand for a moment, then reached out with what might have been an arm. The crystal was warm to the touch and hummed slightly. "Thank you for this opportunity," Taejin said. "We're honored to be here." Zephyros led them through corridors that changed size and shape to accommodate different types of beings. The walls showed images of different worlds, some with multiple suns, others covered in strange forests or floating cities. "Your species is quite young," Zephyros said as they walked. "Most civilizations that survive their nuclear age show more technological advancement by this point. Your ships are primitive, your weapons basic, your understanding of physics limited." Hana bristled at the insult, but Taejin gave her a warning look. They needed to stay diplomatic. They entered a large circular room with a dome ceiling that showed the stars outside. Around the room stood representatives of 12 alien species. Some were tall, others short. Some had multiple arms, others seemed to float in the air. One group looked like they were made of colored gas held together by force fields. "The Quellan Collective," Zephyros explained, pointing to a group of insect-like creatures who moved in perfect synchronization. "They share a single mind across thousands of individuals, very efficient." He pointed to the gas-based beings, the Nethri. They evolved in the upper atmosphere of a gas giant. Their thoughts move at incredible speeds. Each species seemed more advanced than the last. They had conquered diseases, mastered space travel, and built civilizations that spanned multiple star systems. Next to them, humanity seemed like children, playing with toys. "The evaluation will take place over several days," Zephyros announced to the room. "We will test the humans' technological capabilities, their mathematical understanding, their military potential, and their cultural development. Based on these results, we will determine their classification level." Taejin noticed that most of the aliens barely looked at the humans. When they did, their expressions, or what he assumed were expressions, seemed dismissive. It was clear they expected very little from Earth's representatives. The first day involved technical demonstrations. Wu Bin showed them human computers, which the aliens found laughably primitive. Sora explained human navigation methods, which earned polite but clearly unimpressed responses. Hana presented human biological research, which the aliens noted was adequate for such a young species. By the end of the first day, Taejin felt discouraged. Every human achievement seemed trivial compared to alien technology. They had medicine that could regrow entire limbs, ships that could travel between stars in days, and computers that could think faster than entire human cities. On the second day, the cultural exchange began. This was where Taejin hoped humanity might make a better impression. Each species was asked to share something important about their civilization. The Vectari shared mathematical poetry, complex equations that created beautiful patterns when displayed. The Quellan demonstrated their perfect coordination, moving as one organism across the room. The Nethri showed how they could process millions of calculations simultaneously when it was humanity's turn. Taejin felt nervous. What could they share that would impress these advanced beings? Sora stepped forward. I'd like to tell you about my grandmother, she said simply. Several aliens made sounds that the translators couldn't interpret. Sharing personal stories wasn't common in galactic diplomacy. My grandmother lived through a great flood on our world, Sora continued. The river near her village overflowed, and many homes were destroyed. But there was another family, the Parks, who had been enemies of my family for decades. They had fought over land, over business deals, over things that seemed important at the time. As Sora spoke, Taejin noticed something strange. The aliens had stopped their quiet conversations and were focusing completely on her. Even their various sensing organs, stalks, crystals, energy fields, seemed to be pointing in her direction. When the flood came, my grandmother saw the Park family trapped on their roof. The water was rising fast, and they had small children with them. My grandmother didn't hesitate. She took our family's only boat and rescued them, even though it meant she couldn't save some of our own belongings. Sora's voice grew soft with emotion. Later, I asked her why she saved people who had been mean to our family for so long. She said that when you see someone in trouble, especially children, nothing else matters, you just do what's right. The room had gone completely silent. Taejin looked around and saw that every alien was staring at Sora with what looked like intense concentration. The crystal patterns in Zephyros were shifting rapidly, creating sounds like wind chimes. The Nethri's gaseous forms were swirling in complex spirals. The Park family became our closest friends after that, Sora finished. They helped us rebuild, and we helped them. The flood took away many things, but it gave us something better, the understanding that caring for each other matters more than old arguments. The silence stretched on for several seconds. Then Zephyros made a sharp gesture, and the session ended abruptly. That will be all for today, he announced. The evaluation will continue tomorrow. As the aliens filed out, Taejin caught glimpses of them looking back at the human delegation. Their expressions were different now, not dismissive, but puzzled, almost hungry. What just happened? Wu Bin asked quietly. I don't know, Taejin replied, watching the last of the aliens leave. But something definitely changed. That night, as the human crew prepared for sleep in their assigned quarters, none of them realized they had just demonstrated the one thing that made the entire galaxy kneel in awe, and they had no idea they possessed it. The next morning brought more formal testing. The aliens wanted to see human military capabilities, so Taejin demonstrated their weapons and defense systems. The results were predictably underwhelming. Human weapons seemed like primitive tools compared to alien technology that could destroy entire moons. Your projectile weapons are inefficient, commented a tall, thin alien called a Draxi. Your defensive capabilities are limited. Your tactical thinking shows potential but lacks sophistication. Wu Bin gritted his teeth but said nothing. It was hard to argue when the aliens could probably conquer Earth with a single small ship. The mathematics and science tests went similarly. Human knowledge was deemed acceptable for a galactic species, but nothing more. Hana's biological research earned slightly more interest, but even that was seen as basic compared to alien life sciences. By midday, the formal evaluations were complete. Taejin felt like humanity had failed every important test. The aliens spoke among themselves in their various languages, and the translation devices carried words like limited, primitive, and lowest classification. We will now proceed to the final cultural assessment, Zephyros announced. Each species will demonstrate what they consider their greatest cultural achievement. The Vectari went first, creating a massive crystal sculpture that sang in harmonies, too complex for human ears to fully appreciate. The mathematical precision was perfect, each note calculated to create the most efficient emotional response. The Quellan Collective performed a dance that involved thousands of individuals moving as one organism. Every step was planned, every movement served the group's purpose. There was no waste, no individual expression, just perfect unity. The Nethri displayed their ability to compose poetry at incredible speeds, creating hundreds of verses in seconds. Each one technically perfect and logically structured. Each demonstration was impressive in its technical mastery and efficiency. But Taejin noticed something. They all felt cold somehow. Beautiful, yes, but distant, like looking at a perfect machine rather than something created with passion. When it was humanity's turn again, Taejin felt pressure to show something equally impressive. But what did humanity have that could compete with such technical perfection? Sora stepped forward again. Yesterday I shared a story about my grandmother. Today I want to share something different. She paused, looking around the room. I want to share why we came here. The aliens listened with the same intense focus they had shown the day before. We didn't come to join your galactic community because we thought we were the best or the smartest, Sora said. We came because we were curious. We looked up at the stars and wondered who else might be out there. We wondered if we were alone, and we hoped we weren't. Her voice grew stronger as she continued. When we received your message inviting us here, our whole world celebrated. Not because we thought we would gain power or technology, but because we finally had proof that we weren't alone in the universe. There were others out there, others who thought and dreamed and built civilizations among the stars. Taejin watched the alien delegates. Again, they were completely focused on Sora, their various sensory organs oriented toward her. We came here hoping to make friends, she said simply. We came hoping to learn from you, yes, but also hoping we might have something to offer in return. Maybe it's not advanced technology or perfect mathematics. Maybe it's just friendship. The word friendship seemed to have a strange effect on the aliens. Several of them made sounds that the translators couldn't process. The Vectari crystals were resonating in frequencies that made the air itself hum. Wu Bin, inspired by Sora's honesty, stepped forward. I have a daughter back on Earth, he said. She's 7 years old, and when I told her I was going to meet aliens, she made me promise to tell them something. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small drawing made with colored pencils. It showed stick figures holding hands under a smiling sun. Some figures looked human, others had extra arms or tentacles or wings. She drew this picture of humans and aliens being friends, Wu Bin said, his voice warm with love for his child. She said to tell you that even though we look different, we can still be friends because friends take care of each other. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. The Draxi, who had been coldly critical all day, suddenly straightened and focused completely on Wu Bin. The Quellan Collective, which always moved as one unit, seemed to waver slightly, as if individual. Members were trying to step forward. Most dramatic was Zephyros. The crystal being's entire body began shifting through colors rapidly: deep blues, warm golds, bright greens, creating a light show that filled the room. She wanted me to give this to you, Wu Bin added, offering the drawing to Zephyros. The crystal being reached out with one of his arms and took the paper carefully, as if it were made of the most precious material in the universe. As his crystal fingers touched the drawing, his whole body began to resonate with a sound like singing. Ha-na, encouraged by her teammates, shared her own story. I study life forms, she said. But what amazes me most isn't how different alien life can be. It's how much we all have in common. We all evolved on worlds orbiting stars. We all found ways to survive and grow and eventually reach for the sky. We all looked up and wondered about the universe around us. She gestured to the room full of diverse beings. We may look completely different, but we all share the same curiosity, the same drive to explore and understand. In a way, we're all family, children of the same universe, separated by distance but connected by wonder. The aliens were now displaying behaviors none of the humans had seen before. Some were making sounds that seemed almost like crying. Others were moving in ways that suggested they were struggling with something internal. The Nethri, who had been floating in perfect formation, suddenly broke apart as individual members began moving independently. The Quellan collective was actually fragmenting, with individual insects stepping slightly away from the group. Suddenly, Zephyros made a sharp gesture, and all the aliens began filing out of the room quickly, almost frantically. "The session is concluded," Zephyros announced, but his voice sounded different, less mechanical, more emotional. We need time to process this information." As the aliens left, Teijin noticed several of them looking back at the humans with expressions he couldn't read. But whatever they were feeling, it was strong. "Did we do something wrong?" Hana asked quietly. "I don't think so," Teijin replied, watching the last alien disappear through the doorway. "But I think we did something unexpected." That evening, as the human crew ate dinner in their quarters, they had no idea that throughout the station, alien delegates were experiencing something many of them hadn't felt in thousands of years: genuine emotion triggered by authentic human feeling. In their various quarters, the aliens were struggling to understand what had happened to them when the humans spoke with such sincerity about friendship, family, and hope. They didn't yet have words for what they had experienced, but they knew it was something profound, something that would change everything. Wu Bin couldn't sleep. His daughter Minji had been sick when he left Earth, and he missed her terribly. The time difference between the station and Earth meant it was morning back home, so he decided to send her a message. He activated the communication system in his quarters, not realizing that he had accidentally set it to broadcast on an open channel that reached throughout the station. Instead of sending a private message to Earth, his words were going out to every alien delegate on Crossroads Station. "Hi, sweetheart," he said, looking into the camera with tired but loving eyes. "Daddy misses you so much. I know you're probably still sleeping, but I wanted to tell you about the aliens I met today." Throughout the station, in quarters designed for dozens of different life forms, alien beings suddenly stopped what they were doing. Something in Wu Bin's voice, the pure, unconditional love of a father for his child, was reaching them in ways they didn't understand. "They're very different from us," Wu Bin continued, "but I think your drawing was right. I think we can be friends with them. Some of them are tall and made of crystal, and they make beautiful music. Others are like colored clouds that think really fast. There's even a group that shares the same thoughts. Imagine if you could think the same thoughts as your friends all at the same time." The Vectari delegate Zephyros was in his crystal meditation chamber when Wu Bin's words reached him. As the human spoke about his daughter, Zephyros felt something he hadn't experienced in over 3,000 years, a warm sensation in what humans might call his heart, though Vectari didn't have hearts as humans understood them. "I promised I would bring you back stories about the stars," Wu Bin's voice continued. "And I will, Minji. Daddy will come home with so many stories about our new friends among the stars. You'll love hearing about them." In the Quellan collectives quarters, something unprecedented was happening. Individual members were beginning to think thoughts that weren't shared with the group. For the first time in millennia, some Quellan were experiencing what humans would call individual emotion, triggered by the authentic love in a father's voice. "I have to go now, but I want you to know that Daddy thinks about you every minute," Wu Bin said. "When you look up at the stars tonight, remember that one of them is where Daddy is, and Daddy is looking back at the same stars, thinking about you. I love you more than all the stars in the sky." He ended the transmission and went to bed, completely unaware that his private message had been broadcast throughout the station. But the aliens had heard every word. Within an hour, There was a soft chime at the human quarters door. Taejin, still awake and reading reports, went to answer it. He found Zephyros standing in the corridor, but the crystal being looked different somehow. His usual shifting colors were softer, warmer. "Commander Taejin," Zephyros said, "I must speak with you and your crew immediately. It is ... urgent." Taejin woke the others, and they gathered in their small common area. Zephyros entered, moving more slowly than usual, as if he were struggling with something. "What your engineer broadcast tonight," Zephyros began. "We must discuss it." Wubin looked confused. "I didn't broadcast anything. I just sent a private message to my daughter." "It was not private," Zephyros said. "Every delegate on this station heard your words to your child." Wubin's face went pale. "Oh no, I'm so sorry. I must have made a mistake with the communication system. I didn't mean to disturb anyone." "You did not disturb us," Zephyros said quietly. "You ... wakened us." The crystal being seemed to struggle with his words. "What you humans call emotion. Genuine feeling, authentic care for others. It creates what we term heart song. It is a frequency, a resonance that reaches across species barriers." Sora leaned forward. "I don't understand. What do you mean by heart song?" Zephyros began to glow softly. "Long ago, when species are young, they possess the ability to feel and project genuine emotion. This creates psychic resonances that can awaken dormant emotional centers in other beings. Most species lose this ability as they advance technologically." Nuz. Eyes widened as she began to understand. "Are you saying that when we express genuine emotions, it affects you physically?" "More than physically," Zephyros replied. "When your engineer spoke of love for his child, when Sora told her story of forgiveness, when Hana spoke of wonder at the universe, these emotions created heart song that reached into our minds and awakened feelings we had forgotten existed." Taejin felt a chill. "How long ago did your species lose this ability?" "The Vectari lost heart song approximately 50,000 of your years ago," Zephyros said. "The Quellan Collective has not experienced individual emotion for even longer. Most galactic species abandoned genuine feeling in favor of logic and efficiency millennia ago." Wubin was staring at Zephyros in amazement. "You mean when I talked about my daughter, you could actually feel what I was feeling?" "Not exactly," Zephyros said. "We cannot feel your emotions directly, but your heart song awakens our own long-dormant capacity for feeling. When you spoke of love for your child, I remembered what it was like to care for something beyond logic or calculation." The crystal being's voice grew softer. "I had forgotten that such feelings existed. For thousands of years, I have made decisions based on efficiency and logic. But tonight, hearing you speak to your child, I remembered what it felt like to care." Sora reached out slowly and touched Zephyros's crystal arm. "Is that why you all react so strongly when we share personal stories?" "Yes," Zephyros said, and his crystal body resonated with what sounded almost like a sigh. "Your species possesses heart song at a level we have never encountered. Every human seems capable of projecting authentic emotion. Some of you, like Sora and Wubin, are particularly powerful transmitters." Hana asked the obvious question. "How many species still have this ability?" "In all of galactic history, we have found only 17 species that retained heart song beyond their initial spacefaring age," Zephyros said. 14 of those species lost it within a few centuries. 2 others developed it in limited ways, but never achieved the strength you humans display naturally. "What happened to the 17th species?" Taejin asked, though he was afraid he already knew the answer. "They destroyed themselves in wars before they could share their gift with the galaxy," Zephyros said sadly. "We have been searching for another heart song species for over 50,000 years." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity possessed something the entire galaxy had lost: the ability to feel and share genuine emotion. "There is more you must know," Zephyros continued. "The Galactic Council has been in session since your broadcast ended. What you have shown. Yes, this heart song, it changes everything." "Changes everything how?" Taejin asked. Zephyros's crystal body pulsed with warm golden light. "Commander, we are not here to evaluate whether humanity deserves a low-level membership in the galactic community. We are here to determine if you are willing to help us save it." Outside their quarters throughout Crossroads Station, alien delegates were experiencing emotions they had forgotten existed. Some were overwhelmed by the sudden return of feelings they had evolved beyond. Others were desperate to experience more of the heart song that had awakened something precious they thought was lost forever, and in the deepest parts of the galaxy, there were those who viewed the return of emotion as the greatest threat the universe had ever faced. The next morning brought a complete change in atmosphere aboard Crossroads Station. When Taejin and his crew entered the main conference chamber, they found dozens of alien delegates waiting for them. But instead of the cold, dismissive attitudes from before, the aliens watched the humans with something that looked like reverence. Zephyros stood at the center of the room, his crystal body glowing with warm colors. "Before we proceed, you must understand the full scope of what your species represents to the galaxy." A holographic display activated, showing a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. Thousands of star systems glowed in different colors, representing different alien civilizations. "This is our galaxy as it exists today," Zephyros said. "Over 2 million intelligent species spread across countless worlds. Advanced technology, perfect efficiency, logical decision-making. By all measures, a successful galactic civilization." The display zoomed in on different sections, showing massive cities, incredible space stations, and technological marvels beyond human imagination. "But there is something missing," Zephyros continued. "Something we lost in our pursuit of perfection." Sora studied the display. "What's missing?" A new alien stepped forward, one of the Nethri, the gas-based beings. When it spoke, its voice came through a translator as a whisper of wind. "Joy," it said simply. "Wonder, love, hope, the things that make existence meaningful rather than just efficient." Hana looked around the room at the assembled aliens. "You're saying your entire galactic civilization has lost the ability to feel emotions?" "Not lost," corrected a Quellan delegate, one of the insect-like beings. "Abandoned, evolved beyond. We believed emotions were primitive, inefficient. They led to wars, to poor decisions, to waste. So we bred them out," added a tall, thin Draxi. "Or suppressed them through technology, or simply evolved past them. We became perfectly logical, perfectly efficient, perfectly ... empty." Zephyros manipulated the holographic display, and new information appeared. "This is what our galaxy has become without Heartsong. Art is created by mathematical formulas designed to achieve maximum aesthetic efficiency. Music is composed by computers to produce optimal acoustic patterns. Literature is written to convey information with perfect clarity." Ubin studied the data. "But that's not really art, is it? That's just ... technical skill." "Exactly," Zephyros said, his crystal body pulsing brighter. "We have perfect technique but no soul. We can create beautiful things, but they mean nothing to us." The display changed again, showing population statistics, birth rates, and social structures. "Without genuine emotion, our species have become stagnant. We reproduce when it is logical to do so. We form partnerships based on genetic compatibility and resource sharing. We pursue goals because they are efficient, not because we care about them." Taejin felt a chill as he began to understand the scope of the problem. "How long has it been like this?" "For most species, tens of thousands of years," Zephyros replied. "Some longer. The galaxy is dying not from war or disease, but from a lack of meaning. We have everything we need to survive, but nothing worth living for." A new alien spoke up, one that looked like a walking tree with crystalline leaves. "We have watched civilizations rise to incredible heights of technology and knowledge, only to stagnate and slowly fade away. Without passion, without genuine care for something beyond efficiency, there is no drive to grow, to explore, to become more than we are." Ra's voice was soft with understanding. "That's why you're all here. You're not evaluating us for membership. You're hoping we can teach you how to feel again. More than hope, Zephyros said. Your heart song is the strongest we have ever encountered. When Mubin spoke to his daughter, every being on this station felt something stir inside them. When Sora told her story of forgiveness, we remembered what it meant to care about others. When Hana spoke of wonder at the universe, we felt curious about things beyond our immediate needs. The Nethri delegate drifted closer to the humans. For the first time in millennia, I wanted to create something just because it would be beautiful, not because it served a purpose. The desire was so strong it frightened me. A Quellan individual stepped away from its collective group, something that would have been impossible before hearing the human's heart song. I began to think thoughts that were mine alone. I wondered what it would be like to have a name, to be an individual rather than just part of the group. Taejin looked around the room at all the alien faces turned toward his small crew. What exactly are you asking of us? Zephyros dimmed his light and spoke quietly. We want to offer humanity something unprecedented in galactic history. We want to make Earth the emotional and spiritual center of the galaxy. Your people would be revered as the Heart Keepers, given technology beyond your current understanding, and asked to help heal the emotional void that has consumed our civilizations. Hana leaned forward. What would that mean for humanity? Your people would spread across the galaxy, explained the tree-like alien, living among our species, sharing their heart song, teaching us to redevelop our capacity for genuine feeling. You would be the most honored beings in galactic society. But, Ubin said slowly, there's a cost, isn't there? Zephyros's colors shifted to darker hues. Yes, your people would carry an enormous emotional burden. To share heart song effectively, you must remain genuine in your feelings. You cannot fake emotion or project false sentiment. The psychological pressure of being responsible for an entire galaxy's emotional health would be immense. Sora asked the difficult question, what if we say no? Then the galaxy continues its slow decline into meaninglessness, the Nethri whispered. Species continue to fade away not from conquest or catastrophe, but from simple lack of purpose. Eventually, even our advanced technologies cannot maintain civilizations that no longer care about existing. The room fell silent as the humans absorbed the magnitude of what was being asked of them. There is something else you must know, Zephyros said, his voice becoming urgent. Not all species view the return of emotion as beneficial. There are factions that believe heart song is dangerous, that emotions led to the primitive conflicts that nearly destroyed younger civilizations. They see your abilities as a threat that must be contained or eliminated. Taejin felt ice in his stomach. Are you saying some aliens want to destroy humanity because of our emotions? They want to prevent the spread of heart song throughout the galaxy, Zephyros confirmed. They believe logic and efficiency are superior to feeling and passion. They will do anything to maintain the current state of galactic civilization. Hana stood up, pacing as she thought. So we have a choice. Help you rediscover emotions and risk being hunted by those who oppose it, or let an entire galaxy slowly die from lack of meaning. That is correct, Zephyros said. Deathworlders said, thought about his daughter, about the drawing she had made of humans and aliens being friends. If we agree to help, would our families be safe? We would protect Earth with every resource at our disposal, the Draxi delegate assured him. Your world would become the most defended planet in the galaxy. Taejin looked at his crew, seeing the weight of decision in their eyes. They were being asked to make a choice that would affect not just humanity, but the entire galaxy's future. We need time to discuss this among ourselves, he said finally. Of course, Zephyros agreed. But know that even now, word of your heart song is spreading throughout the galaxy. Those who oppose emotion are already mobilizing. Time is not unlimited. As the aliens filed out of the chamber, leaving the humans alone with the most important decision in galactic history, Taejin realized that their simple mission of first contact had become something far greater and more dangerous than anyone on Earth could have imagined. The human crew spent hours in heated discussion about the impossible choice before them. The weight of an entire galaxy's future rested on their decision, and none of them felt qualified to make such a choice. We're talking about fundamentally changing human society, Hana argued, pacing back and forth in their quarters. If our people spread across the galaxy as these heart keepers, what happens to Earth? What happens to human culture? Sora sat quietly thinking. Maybe the question isn't what happens to us, but what happens to them if we don't help. But is it even our responsibility? Wu Bin asked. We didn't ask for this ability. We didn't know we had it. Why should we have to fix their problems? Before anyone could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed, and Zephyros's voice came over the communication system. All delegates to emergency stations. We are under attack. The humans rushed to the main chamber, where chaos greeted them. Alien delegates were running in all directions, speaking rapidly in their various languages. Through the massive viewing windows, they could see ships approaching, sleek, dock vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Zephyros appeared beside them, his crystal body flickering with agitated colors. The Korathi, he said grimly. A militaristic species that views emotions as the ultimate weakness. They have formed an alliance with others who oppose Heartsong. How did they find out so quickly? Taijin asked. Word travels fast in a galaxy connected by quantum communication, Zephyros replied. They know you are here and they know what you represent. Through the windows, they watched as the dark ships opened fire on Crossroads Station. The station's shields held, but energy readings showed they wouldn't last long against the sustained assault. Can you fight them off? Sora asked. A Draxi commander shook his tall head. The Korathi are one of the few species that maintain their military focus even after abandoning emotion. They are efficient killers, nothing more. The station's defenses were designed for diplomatic protection, not military assault. Another explosion rocked the station, and several aliens made sounds of distress, but something strange was happening. The aliens who had been exposed to human heartsong were reacting differently than expected. Instead of panic or efficient evacuation procedures, they were showing something else entirely. The Quellan Collective had completely fragmented, with individual members making their own decisions about how to respond to the crisis. Some were helping injured delegates, others were working frantically at control stations, and a few were actually comforting frightened aliens from other species. The Nethri, instead of calculating optimal survival strategies, were using their gaseous forms to carry smaller aliens to safety. Their actions seemed driven by concern for others rather than logical self-preservation. Most surprising was Zephyros himself. The crystal being was moving between groups of aliens, his body glowing with warm, reassuring colors, clearly trying to calm their fears rather than simply coordinate an efficient response. This is what emotion does, Wu Bin realized, watching the transformed aliens. It makes you care about others, not just yourself. Hana was studying the tactical displays. The Korathi ships are targeting the areas where the Heartsong was strongest. They're trying to get to us specifically. Another massive explosion shook the station, and this time the lights flickered ominously. Suddenly, Wu Bin's communication device chimed with an incoming message from Earth. His face went pale as he read it. My daughter, he whispered. Minji is in the hospital. She's gotten much worse. The news hit him like a physical blow, and the anguish in his voice was impossible to hide. But something unexpected happened as his grief filled the air. Instead of weakening the aliens around them, his pain seemed to galvanize them. Zephyros's crystal body began resonating with deep, mournful tones that somehow conveyed both sorrow and determination. Your pain, he said to Wu Bin, it reminds us what it means to lose something precious. It reminds us why some things are worth protecting. The Draxi commander, tears streaming down his alien face for the first time in centuries, turned to his tactical station with renewed purpose. We will not let them take this from us, he declared. We will not go back to the emptiness. Throughout the station, aliens who had tasted genuine emotion were making a choice. They could evacuate, flee to safety, and return to their emotionally empty existence. Or they could stay and fight for the chance to feel again. They chose to fight. The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. For the first time in millennia, aliens were fighting not from cold calculation or territorial instinct, but from passion. They fought to protect something they valued, something worth preserving. The Quellan individuals worked together not as a collective mind, but as individuals choosing to cooperate. The Nethri used their speed not just for tactical advantage, but to save lives. Even species that had been enemies for thousands of years found themselves working side by side, united by the common experience of rediscovered feeling, but the station's defenses were failing. The Karathi ships were too advanced, too numerous, and too determined to eliminate the source of Heartsong. "We need to evacuate the humans," Sephiroth said reluctantly. "If they capture or kill you, the galaxy's hope dies with you." "No," Teijin said firmly. "We're not running." Sora stepped forward, her voice clear and strong. "Zephyros, can you broadcast my voice throughout the station?" "Yes, but why?" "Just do it." As Sora's voice went out over the station's communication system, she began to speak with the same genuine emotion that had first awakened the alien's heart song. "To everyone on this station," she said, "I want you to know that what you're feeling right now, the fear, the hope, the determination, to protect something you care about, this is what it means to be alive. Not just existing, not just surviving, but truly living." Her words reached every corner of the station, and the effect was immediate. Aliens who had been wavering in their resolve suddenly stood straighter. Those who had been fighting with cold efficiency suddenly fought with passion. "The beings attacking us want to take this away," Sora continued. "They want to return you to the emptiness, to the endless days without meaning or purpose. But you have a choice. You can choose to feel, to care, to fight for something greater than your own survival." The tide of battle began to turn. The defending ships, crewed by aliens experiencing genuine motivation for the first time in millennia, fought with a fury that caught the emotionless Korathi completely off guard, but the victory came at a cost. Wu Bin, overwhelmed by grief for his daughter and the weight of responsibility he felt for the aliens who were fighting and dying to protect humanity's gift, collapsed from emotional exhaustion. As Hana and Teijin helped him to the medical bay, they realized the true cost of what they were being asked to do. Sharing Heartsong wasn't just about projecting positive emotions. It meant experiencing the full spectrum of human feeling, including pain, loss, and overwhelming responsibility. The question was no longer whether they could help save the galaxy. The question was whether they could survive the cost of doing so. The medical bay on Crossroads Station was designed to treat dozens of different alien physiologies, but the doctors had never encountered anything like Wu Bin's condition. He wasn't physically injured. He was suffering from what human psychology would call emotional burnout, amplified by the constant projection of Heartsong. Dr. Keth, a spider-like alien with 8 delicate arms, examined Wu Bin with instruments that glowed and hummed. "His neural patterns are unlike anything in our medical databases," she said to Hana and Teijin. "The emotional centers of his brain are hyperactive, as if he's feeling the emotions of everyone around him." Hana studied the readings. "Is that what's happening? Is he somehow absorbing the emotions he's helping to create in others?" "It's possible," Dr. Keth replied. "Heartsong appears to create a feedback loop. As he projects authentic emotion, it awakens feelings in others, which then resonates back to him. The stronger his Heartsong, the more intense the feedback becomes." Teijin sat beside Wu Bin's bed, watching his friend sleep restlessly. "How do we help him?" "I don't know," Dr. Keth admitted. "We have no experience treating Heartsong exhaustion because we've never encountered a species that possessed it." Sora entered the medical bay, looking tired but determined. "The Korathi fleet has retreated, but Sephiroth says they'll be back with reinforcements. How is he?" "Not good," Hana said quietly. "It seems like the stronger his emotional projection becomes, the more it affects him personally. He's not just sharing his feelings, he's somehow taking on the emotional burden of everyone around him." A soft chime indicated someone was requesting entry. Zephyros appeared in the doorway, his crystal body pulsing with subdued colors. How is your colleague? He asked, genuine concern evident in his translated voice. We're not sure, Taejin replied. It seems like using heart song is more dangerous for humans than we realized. Zephyros moved closer to Wubin's bed, his colors shifting to gentle blues and greens. This is something we did not anticipate. In our records of previous heart song species, we found no mention of this kind of feedback effect. Maybe because no species ever developed heart song as strongly as humans have, Sora suggested. Maybe we're experiencing something that's never happened before. Dr. Keth's instruments detected something new, and she made excited clicking sounds. His brain patterns are changing. The emotional centers are stabilizing, but something else is happening. On the monitors, they could see Wubin's neural activity shifting into new patterns. The hyperactive emotional centers were connecting to other parts of his brain in ways that seemed impossible. What are we looking at? Hana asked. I believe, Dr. Keth said slowly, that his brain is adapting. He's developing new neural pathways to handle the emotional feedback from heart song projection. Wu Bin's eyes opened and he looked around the room with a clarity that hadn't been there before. I can feel all of you, he said quietly. Not your thoughts, but your emotions. Sora, you're worried about me, but also excited about what this might mean. Hana, you're fascinated by the medical implications, but scared of what it might cost us. Taejin, you feel responsible for everything that's happened. He turned to Zephyros. And you're feeling hope for the first time in thousands of years, but you're also terrified that we'll decide the cost is too high and leave. Zephyros's crystal body flared with bright colors. You can sense our emotions directly now? Not exactly, Wubin said, sitting up carefully. It's more like I can feel the emotional resonance around me. Like being in a room full of music and being able to hear each individual instrument. Dr. Keth was frantically taking readings. This is unprecedented. His brain has essentially evolved in real time to process emotional input from multiple species. Simultaneously, Hana leaned forward eagerly. Does it hurt? Are you still feeling overwhelmed? Wu Bin considered the question. No, it's different now. Before, it felt like I was drowning in everyone else's feelings. Now it's like being able to understand a language I couldn't speak before. I can feel what you're all experiencing, but it doesn't overwhelm my own emotions. A new alarm began sounding throughout the station, but this one was different, not the harsh warning of attack, but a more complex pattern. Zephyros translated. Long-range sensors have detected a massive fleet approaching, not Korathi, something else. Multiple species, but flying in formation. They made their way to the command center, where dozens of alien delegates were gathered around holographic displays showing space around the station. Approaching from several directions were hundreds of ships representing dozens of different species. Who are they? Taejin asked the Draxi commander, still showing signs of emotional awakening from the previous battle, studied the display. They single quotes read ... everyone. Species from all over this sector of the galaxy. They're coming to see the Heartsong species for themselves. Zephyros's colors shifted rapidly. Word has spread faster than we anticipated. The battle with the Korathi was BROADCAST across quantum communication networks. Billions of beings saw aliens fighting with passion and determination for the first time in millennia. Sora watched the approaching ships with growing amazement. They're all coming here to meet. U.S.? Not just to meet you, said a new voice. A delegate they hadn't seen before entered the command center, a being that looked like liquid metal in a roughly humanoid shape. They're coming to be healed. The liquid metal being flowed closer to the humans. I am Flux of the Amalgam Collective. My species heard the broadcasts of your Heartsong 3 days ago. For the first time in 10,000 years, individual members of our collective began to experience personal desires, individual creativity, private thoughts. The same thing is happening across the galaxy, Zephyros added, his voice filled with Species that have been emotionally dormant for millennia are spontaneously redeveloping the capacity for feeling, just from exposure to recordings of human heartsong. Hana felt a chill of realization. You're saying our emotional projection is so strong it works even through recordings? More than that, Flux replied. It appears to be spreading from species to species. Beings who experience heartsong awakening are beginning to project their own emotional resonance, creating a cascade effect across galactic civilization. Wu Bin, with his newly developed emotional sensitivity, suddenly stiffened. Something's wrong. I can feel ... anger, hatred, it's getting stronger. The long-range sensors confirmed his warning, mixed in with the ships coming to experience heartsong, or others with different intentions. Ships from species that viewed the emotional awakening as a plague to be stopped. The galaxy is choosing sides, Zephyros said grimly. Those who want to feel again, and those who will do anything to prevent it. Taejin looked at his crew, seeing the weight of their decision reflected in their faces. They had hoped to simply make first contact and return home. Instead, they had started a galactic civil war between emotion and logic, between meaning and efficiency. Commander, Sora said quietly, I don't think we can go home anymore. Not until this is resolved. If it can be resolved, Hana added, studying the tactical displays showing hundreds of ships converging on their position. Wu Bin stood up, his new emotional sensitivity allowing him to feel the hope and fear radiating from every alien on the station. Then we'd better figure out how to help them without destroying ourselves in the process. Outside, in the cold vacuum of space, the future of galactic civilization was approaching at light speed, and 4 humans found themselves at the center of the most important conflict in the galaxy's history. The space around Crossroads Station had become the most crowded location in galactic history. Ships from hundreds of species filled the area, creating a massive, chaotic gathering unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, but the crowd was not. United, through the station's sensors, the humans could see clear divisions forming. On one side, ships flew in loose organic formations, their crews experiencing the first genuine emotions they had felt in millennia. On the other side, precise military formations of species that rejected heartsong prepared for what they saw as the final battle against dangerous primitive feelings. Status report, Taejin requested as he entered the command center, Zephyros's. Crystal body was cycling through colors so rapidly it looked like a prism in a lightning storm. Over 300 species have sent representatives. Approximately 60% are here seeking heartsong awakening, the others ... He paused. They call themselves the Pure Logic Alliance. Hana studied the tactical displays. What do they want? A new voice answered, cold, mechanical, without any trace of emotion. They want to eliminate the source of contamination before it spreads further. The humans turned to see a figure. That looked like it was made of black metal and glass, with glowing red sensors instead of eyes. Its movements were perfectly precise, mechanically efficient. I am Designation 7 Alpha of the Korathi Strategic Council, the figure announced. I am here to negotiate the terms of your surrender, Taejin stepped forward. We're not surrendering anything. We're here as diplomats, not prisoners. Your presence alone is an act of aggression against galactic stability, 7 Alpha replied. Your emotional contamination has caused chaos across dozens of star systems. Productivity has decreased. Military efficiency has degraded. Social order has been disrupted. Sora moved to stand beside Taejin. You mean beings are starting to care about things beyond their assigned functions? Precisely. This is unacceptable. Wu Bin, with his enhanced emotional sensitivity, could feel the absolute emptiness radiating from the Korathi delegate. It was like standing next to a void in space, not just the absence of positive emotions, but the complete elimination of any feeling whatsoever. You don't feel anything, Wu Bin said with a mixture of horror and pity. Nothing at all. Correct. We eliminated all emotional responses from our species over 50,000 years ago. We are perfectly efficient, perfectly logical, perfectly superior to the chaos you represent. But what's the point? Hana asked. What do you live for if you don't feel anything? We live to maintain order, to preserve efficiency, to ensure the galaxy functions at optimal capacity. That's not living, Sora said softly. That's just Existing. 7 Alpha's sensors focused on her with mechanical precision. Existence is sufficient. Feelings create inefficiency, conflict, waste. Your heart song threatens to undo millions of years of evolutionary progress. Behind them, more delegates were arriving, beings from both sides of the growing divide. The emotionally awakened aliens moved with new purpose, their actions driven by genuine care and curiosity. The Pure Logic Alliance representatives moved with mechanical precision, their every action calculated for maximum efficiency. You have 48 hours to voluntarily submit to emotional suppression, 7 Alpha announced. If you refuse, the Alliance will take necessary action to prevent further contamination. And what exactly does that mean? Taijin demanded. Elimination of the source. Your species will be terminated to prevent the spread of heart song. The threat hung in the air like a physical presence. The Pure Logic Alliance wasn't just opposing human influence. They were threatening genocide to prevent the return of emotion to the galaxy. Zephyros stepped forward, his crystal body now glowing with what could only be described as anger. You would commit genocide to maintain your emptiness? We would eliminate a disease to preserve galactic health, 7 Alpha replied without any change in tone. The mathematics are simple. 4 humans versus the stability of 2 million species. But those species are choosing to feel again, Hana protested. No one is forcing them to experience heartsong. Choice based on emotional manipulation is not true choice. Your presence creates chemical and psychic reactions that compromise rational thinking. Wu Bin felt something new through his emotional sensitivity. Waves of determination and protective anger coming from the aliens who had experienced heartsong awakening. They weren't going to stand by and watch humanity be destroyed. There won't be just 4 humans to eliminate, Flux of the Amalgam Collective said, flowing into the command center. Thousands of my people have begun experiencing individual consciousness. They would fight to protect that gift. More delegates entered, representing dozens of species. The Quellan individuals, the awakened Nethri, the Vectari who had learned to create art from passion rather than formula, all of them stood with the humans. You would risk galactic war over the right to feel primitive emotions? 7 Alpha asked. We would fight to preserve the right to live meaningfully rather than merely exist efficiently. Zephyros replied, his colors now stabilized in shades of gold and crimson that seemed to radiate determination. 7 Alpha processed this information with mechanical precision. Then war is inevitable. The Alliance controls 37% of galactic military assets. Victory is statistically probable. Statistics don't account for passion, Sora said. Or for people fighting to protect something they love? Emotion makes beings irrational and unpredictable in combat, 7 Alpha agreed. However, it also makes them inefficient and prone to error. Logic will prevail. As 7 Alpha departed to return to the Alliance fleet, Taijin turned to face the assembled aliens who had chosen to stand with humanity. You don't have to fight for US, he said. This isn't your war. Yes, it is, Zephyros replied. You gave us back something we thought was lost forever. You reminded us what it means to truly live rather than just survive. We won't let that be taken away. But are you ready for what fighting means? Wu Bin asked, his emotional sensitivity picking up uncertainty mixed with the determination. War isn't just tactics and efficiency. It means loss, grief, sacrifice. It means feeling pain when your friends die. The room fell silent as the aliens considered this. They were volunteering to fight not just for their right to feel joy and love, but also to experience sorrow and loss. We know, said a small Draxi female, tears still strange on her angular face. When my mate died in the last battle, I felt pain like I never knew existed. But I also felt something else. I felt that his sacrifice mattered. For the first time in my life, loss had meaning because what we were fighting for had meaning. One by one, the other aliens nodded agreement. They were choosing to fight not despite the emotional cost, but because the emotional cost gave their fight significance. Then we'd better prepare, Taijin said grimly. Because I don't think 48 hours is going to be enough time to find a peaceful solution. Outside the station, two philosophies of existence were preparing for war. Cold, efficient logic against passionate, meaningful emotion. The outcome would determine not just the fate of humanity, but the future of consciousness itself in the galaxy. And in the center of it all, four humans from a small blue planet found themselves responsible for protecting something they had never even known they possessed: the ability to make existence worth living. The final battle never came. As the two massive fleets faced each other across the void around Crossroads Station, something unexpected happened. The 48-hour deadline passed, and instead of opening fire, ships from both sides began receiving the same message simultaneously. It was a simple audio transmission, broadcasting on all frequencies, reaching every vessel in the gathering. The voice was human, Wu-Bin speaking directly to his daughter on Earth, unaware that his message was being transmitted across the galaxy. He had just received word that Minji had died. "My beautiful girl," Wu-Bin's voice carried across space, raw with grief and love. "I'm so sorry I wasn't there with you. I'm so sorry I couldn't hold your hand one last time." On ships throughout both fleets, beings stopped what they were doing. The Pure Logic Alliance had developed technology to block heartsong transmissions. But grief, this pure, this authentic, this devastating, broke through every barrier they had constructed. "I need you to know that everything I did out here, I did thinking about you," Wu-Bin continued, his voice breaking. "I wanted to bring you back stories about the stars, about our new friends among them. I wanted to show you that your drawing was right, that humans and aliens could be friends." In the command center of Crossroads Station, Taejin, Sora, and Hana stood silently as their friend poured out his heart to a daughter who would never hear his words. But across the galaxy, millions of beings were hearing them instead. "You taught me something, Minji. You taught me that love doesn't end just because someone goes away. It doesn't stop just because you can't hug them anymore. Love is the thing that makes all the sadness worth it, because it means you had something so precious that losing it breaks your heart." On the Pure Logic Alliance flagship, Designation 7 Alpha stood motionless as systems throughout the ship began malfunctioning. But these weren't technical failures, they were Korathi crew members, experiencing emotion for the first time in 50,000 years. The ship's perfect efficiency crumbled as beings who had eliminated all feeling suddenly found themselves overwhelmed by the most powerful emotions of all: grief for what they had lost, and wonder at what they might still find. "I know the aliens here are listening," Wu-Bin said, somehow sensing his words were reaching beyond Earth. "I want them to know that feeling sad doesn't make you weak. Being afraid doesn't make you a failure. Missing someone so much it hurts? That doesn't make you broken." Throughout the Alliance fleet, similar scenes were playing out. Crew members were abandoning their stations not from malfunction, but from the sudden, overwhelming realization that they had spent millennia in emotional emptiness, missing out on everything that made existence meaningful. "It makes you someone who loves so deeply that even the pain is precious," Wu-Bin continued. "Minji, wherever you are now, I hope you can see that your daddy helped teach an entire galaxy how to love." When the transmission ended, the silence stretched across space like a held breath. Then, slowly, individual ships began breaking formation. First a few vessels from the Alliance fleet, then dozens, then hundreds. They weren't fleeing, they were crossing the empty space between the two forces, requesting permission to dock at Crossroads Station. The Pure Logic Alliance had lost not through military defeat, but through mass emotional awakening. Beings who had spent millennia suppressing all feeling found themselves desperate to experience what they had given up. 7 Alpha was among the last to arrive at the station. The mechanical precision that had defined the Korathi for 50,000 years was gone, replaced by something that looked almost like wonder. "I feel," 7 Alpha said to the assembled humans, the words strange and uncertain. "For the first time since my ancestors eliminated emotion from our species, I feel fear, curiosity, and something else I do not have words for." "Hope," Sora said gently. "The word you're looking for is hope." What followed was not the galactic war everyone had feared, but something unprecedented, a galactic healing. Species that had been emotionally dead for millennia worked together to rediscover what they had lost. Taejin found himself appointed as the first ambassador of Heartsong, helping to establish the academy that Zephyros had envisioned. But instead of humans serving as the galaxy's emotional caretakers,